Hi all, and welcome to the Physical Education Model Content Standards lecture. Basically, we call it the PE standards. And what I love about these standards, and I'm so glad that we have them, that I'm able to refer to them because they are really, really important in determining what is appropriate to teach to students at every grade level, K through 12. The California standards in particular are very specific and I think enlightening and very helpful when you're trying to figure out exactly what you're supposed to teach. So if you get a third grade class, a seventh grade class, a ninth grade class, and you think, what am I supposed to teach them? What are they supposed to learn during their time with me? You go into the standards and you say, okay, here's my third grade class. This is a list, a very specific list broken down into amazing categories that you're going to see in just a second. This is a list of all of the things that they're supposed to know as a result of their time with me in third grade. When they move on to fourth grade, these are all the things that they need to know. And then I pick what I'm going to teach and what progression, scope, and sequence it's going to be. And hopefully you have them for enough time in physical education where you can actually address all of those things and adequately prepare them to move through. So I'm going to spend a little time talking about the standards and how they're categorized so that when you're flipping through them, you know where to look pretty quickly. And it's actually pretty easy. And so hopefully you can kind of listen. The words are bigger than the actual description. The K through, what are model? Let's go over an introduction of first what they are. So basically, they are the essential skills and knowledge that students need to know in order to maintain a physically healthy and physically active lifestyle. So it's kind of everything that you need to know in the realm of physical education and kinesiology that will help you move forward healthy and active. They provide guidance to developing your program. Like I said, that's all of the pieces, and you get to kind of design a scope and sequence about how you're going to approach those, when you're going to do certain skills, throughout, how you're going to build off of those throughout your year. With adequate guidance and instruction, all students should be able to achieve these standards. It is true, research has shown it. Minutes wise, and we talk about this in several lectures, it's actually educational code, so it's federal law, that kindergarten through sixth grade is 200 minutes every 10 days. It's by a quality physical education teacher who's trained to provide 200 minutes every 10 days. So for the K through 6, that is 20 minutes every day, but typically it ends up being 30 minutes every other, but mathematically it's supposed to be 40 minutes every other day. And that's the actual education code requirement. For high school, and I actually think it should be K through 8, but I'm going to double check on that. But the high school minutes for sure are 400 minutes of physical education every 10 days. So that is typically what we see. High schools are where the ed code is really implemented because the principal is on it. And so it's a requirement in most high schools that you at least have 2 years of it. And so that 400 minutes is usually there. The 200 minutes of K through 6 is we're growing in the places that we are starting to meet those requirements. There's been a lot of lawsuits actually in LA County and San Diego County and in Sacramento County. There's a lot of parents who are being proactive and really trying to get their kids some quality physical education minutes taught by quality and educated individuals. And so we're starting to see more and more people actually follow the ed code, the federally mandated law. So basically how this is organized, it is K8. The K6 is a typo. So the K8, basically how these are organized for K8 is there are 5 standards. There are 2 that deal with kind of the motor domain, 2 that deal with the health related domain, and then 1 that deals with the affective. So there's kind of 5 in the K through 8 and 3 in high school, and we'll talk about that very briefly. So the first 2 are motor related, if you will. So the first one is all motor. The second one is all cognitive related to that motor. So if you are working on, the follow through on a certain skill, the performance of the follow through is going to be the standard 1. The cognitive knowledge or the cognition that goes with that skill is 2. Just quickly, I'm just throwing it out overview, because if I put it all up there, then you'll quickly be reading and not listening. Number 3 standard is all the health related, fitness and health related pieces. So it's the healthy, active lifestyle. It's the pieces of being active, of being flexible, of having muscular strength and muscular endurance, and all of those pieces. 4 goes with it. The 4th standard is the cognitive related to the health related. So health related could be a healthy, active lifestyle. And then the cognitive component is something like, what does it mean to have a low resting heart rate? How important is cardiovascular strength? In what ways is cardiovascular strength important? And then the 5th standard for elementary and middle school is the affective domain. So again, number 1 is motor. Number 2 is cognitive about that motor. Number 3 is health and fitness related. And number 4 is cognitive related about health and fitness related. And number 5 is affective. So it goes with our domains. So here you go. Standard number 1 is the motor domain. And of course, hopefully you printed this off and you're not writing it down. This is just to quickly go over it. I'm going to give you the actual terminology so that you're familiar with it when you look into the standards. So it's motor, the movement-based standard. An example is the student will be able to demonstrate a gallop while leading with the right foot up and down a basketball court at least once. Cognitive, standard number 2, is cognitive that relates to the motor or psychomotor or the movement. So students will be able to understand that galloping is an uneven locomotor skill. So there are cognitive standards that go with all of the motor standards. They're not aligned numerically. They're just listed, but they're very easy to find and navigate. Number 3, of course, is the health-related fitness and how they will master the movement while increasing fitness and health. For example, they'll be able to gallop at a pace that increases heart rate and fitness levels. That even linked back up to the motor. They usually don't do that. That was just a lucky coincidence. And standard number 4 is cognitive as it relates to the health and fitness standard. So the student will be able to understand how movement raises heart rates by locating their pulse before and after movements. And then lastly, a student will be able to, is the affective. Number 5 is the affective domain. So all of the things that I discussed in the learning domains about working together, kind of this productive environment, all of those pieces are actually and fantastically broken down here so that you can go, okay, what is a 3rd grader ready for? Are they ready to work with partners? Are they still kind of in a solo place? And there's a progression that the standards show from kinder through 12th that is tremendously helpful if you kind of give it the chance and look at the specifics. Here's an example of affective. The students will be able to show respect of personal space by controlling their body, big for little kids, during a movement activity and not running into other classmates. So there's some examples and kind of an overview. This is the actual standard number 1. They'll demonstrate motor skills and movement patterns needed to perform a variety of physical activities. So that's just the actual term for it. I just wanted you to be familiar. Cognitive, again, standard 2. It's demonstrate the knowledge of movement concepts, principles, and strategies. Number 3, assess and maintain a level of physical fitness to improve health and performance. So again, standard 3 is the movement-based health-related fitness components of a lesson or a unit. And then standard 4 is the cognitive as it relates to health-related. So students demonstrate the knowledge of physical fitness concepts, principles, and strategies. And then the last one, the warm, soft, fuzzy, the affective domain. Students demonstrate and utilize knowledge of psychological and sociological concepts, principles, and strategies. Again, I wanted you to see that. So you were like, what? So if you looked at it and goes, what is that? Just number 5 is affective. I want to get better examples. Lots of them. I'll be back. I wanted to show you what they actually look like. And you have these available to you on Canvas. And so this is what they actually look like. All of the standards have the seal of California on it. They all say the model content standards for California public schools, kindergarten through 12th, all of them, music, language arts, mathematics, all of them. And so and they all have a different color square. Physical education is orange. I think health is pink. So they all look like this. Again, you have access to all of this. On the side, you can kind of see all the contents. And so it'll show you, not kind of, you can see all the contents and kind of jump to where you like to look. If you look at, let's see, let's take a closer look. So here's grade 3. And basically what you're going to see is the standard 1, which we know is all things related to motor and the movement related there. So you can see how they're broken up. Chase, flee, these are now movement concepts, chase, flee, and move away from others in a constantly changing environment. We can find lots of those. There's some body management. This is a good time to teach kids forward roll and straddle roll. Before this, they're not, as a class, holistically ready to learn forward roll. They don't have the prerequisite skills. So the standards say in 3rd grade is where it's appropriate for you to teach that and for them to learn. So here's some manipulative skills: balance while traveling, hand dribbling, foot dribbling, strike a ball continuously upwards with a paddle. Excuse me, there's some dance pieces there. And now we have the knowledge that goes with that movement. And so I just wanted to show you a couple. Explain and demonstrate the correct hand position when catching a ball above the head, below the waist, middle of the body, or away. So you can take one of those. Describe the position of your hands when you're catching the ball above your head. And so we talk about W or thumbs together. Below is a M. And I can't do it. Or your pinkies together. And so you are going to, that's what you're going to teach. If you teach catching, you're going to have them describe what their hands look like if they're focusing on catching a ball above their head. And there's lots, identify the differences between dribbling a ball with their hand and feet while moving and when changing directions. So great. So here's some of number 3, which is the physical fitness, the health related component. Demonstrate a warm up or cool down. Demonstrate how to lift and carry objects correctly. Climb a vertical pole or rope. That's exciting. Flexibility pieces, hold and increasing periods, stretches. Body composition pieces in there. And then the knowledge that goes with that. Number 4 is the knowledge that goes with the health related. So identifies a body's normal reaction to moderate and vigorous activity. Super important, because if you're not exercising hard enough, you need to push it more. If you're pushing it too much, you need to bring it back in. And certainly we all need to learn that, but 3rd grade is the time that research has shown that it's a perfect spot for them to learn and grow and move forth. So lots and lots describe the role of muscular strength and proper lifting. Just wonderful, just amazing. And then lastly, number 5, the affective domain. This is setting personal goals, listing benefits, appropriate cues for movements, and positive words of encouragement. I mean, I think that somehow this appears in all levels, because this is really kind of giving and receiving feedback. And we're really, even as adults, we're really bad at receiving information about ourselves. If you've ever received a compliment and you're kind of like, withering, working on this as low as 3rd grade is an amazing way to do this. If you go to 6th grade, you can kind of see that things get a little bit more difficult. There's more description and more words and more difficulty in those words. So strike an object consistently using an implement that, that the object travels in the intended direction and at the desired heights. Now we're talking about direction and height and how a 6th grader can control that. There's more line dances here. Develop and demonstrate routines. Here's the cognition that goes with that. And you can tell just by the words, when we've talked about cognitive and how we don't want people to understand. We want them to explain, analyze, provide feedback, identify practices, illustrate, develop a cooperative movement game. So those are the types of things, words that you're using when we're talking about cognitive, the demonstration of cognitive knowledge. So if you get now, well, the one thing, let's see. Back to this, just to show you where it all fits. I don't think this is where it was, but we'll go with it. Quickly, the high school standards, they combine standards. So where K through 8 had 5, now high school has 3. They combine the first 2 into 1, which is motor and cognitive related to the motor skill. It's just standard 1 now in high school. Standard 2 in high school combines the motor involvement and cognition of health related into one. And then standard 3 in high school is just the affective domain. So it really, that's a lot of words. You probably tuned me out. Hopefully you didn't, because it's kind of important to kind of see where it all fits. There's 5 for K through 5th, 5, K through 8, 5 for K through 8, and 3 for high school. And these are just combinations for high school. So that is the standards. And they're super, super helpful in understanding what it is that we do and all of the pieces of the things that we want to achieve in physical education. And it really gives credibility and weight to what it is that we do on a daily basis, what we do on a yearly basis, programmatically, what we do in units. So if we do a unit of striking with paddles, what are the we can pull out all the striking standards and kind of line them up. And these are my lesson plans that I'm going to build from those. So it is truly very beneficial, and it is an excellent tool to utilize to give weight to what it is that you're doing and trying to achieve and teaching your students. So if your students aren't doing well in any of the domains or any of the standards, and they don't get an A, which everyone just expects, especially in elementary, that you're going to get in PE, you can kind of bring them back to the standards. These are the things that they're supposed to achieve by the end of this session or this quarter. And this is where they have failed to meet those objectives. And this is why they got B or C. And you need to be armed with that information when you go into those conversations with parents who are like, why isn't this a pass? Or why isn't this an A? And then standards really lend credibility to those conversations and to those lesson plans and to really how people feel about your physical education program, whether you're the elementary school teacher who's going out and teaching, or whether you're the actual physical education teacher. It lends weight and provides credibility to what it is that you're doing. So they are super important, super easy to use once you get the gist, and they're required for all lesson plans that you will develop in your undergraduate program and your credential programs if you go into those. So let me know if you have any questions.